Hey y'all, I'm Rylan. Welcome to my channel. I am here today to do a very short single book review video for a book that has been on my radar since it was first announced. It is one by an author that I love very much and have read several books by in the past, and I kind of wanted to hype it up a little bit today and give y'all a quick book review. I was hoping to film this review right around the release date for this book, as you already know what the book is from the title and or thumbnail, but that did not happen just because of school. However, I am finally here to give y'all a quick review for Past the Broken Bridges by B. Celeste. This is of course the author's newest release. It came out on March 11th of this year. I actually got an ARC of this book on NetGalley, which is how I read it, but a couple of days before its release I did pre-order it, and then it came to my house the week of the release day, although not on the day that it actually came out. So I do have a physical copy now, of course. I did not read it physically. I did get this copy though, so that someday I can hopefully reread it and tab it. I do have a little cubby of B. Celeste books. I have met her twice and she has signed multiple books that I've brought to her. I've purchased books from her stand at author events and things like that. So I have met B. Celeste. I'm sure if I keep going to author events, I might have the chance to see her again and chat with her some more. But I wanted to give a quick little review and talk about my thoughts on this book. Especially if you like a good emotional romance, this might be for you. I always do my book reviews in a formatted order, so before I talk about the synopsis and my rating and my thoughts on the book, I do want to go ahead and share content warnings for this one because there are quite a few. Content warnings for this book do include terminal illness, sexual content, drugs / gang violence, addiction, blood descriptions, abuse, abandonment, toxic relationship, death, car accident, and gun use. To kind of move on into a very brief synopsis, I do want to put out there that I think this book is one of those that is better to go into it blind. I think that because of the emotional aspect of it, knowing too much could do more harm than good. Although I do want to say I hesitate to call this an actual romance because of the nature of the book, so I'll probably use the word contemporary fiction more when I talk about this one, although it is a contemporary fiction book that has romance in it. This is a new adult contemporary book about Sawyer and Banks, and they grew up kind of as nearby neighbors. They would spend their afternoons on this bridge and eat fruit snacks and other candy together and just kind of escape the world for a little bit. However, when Hurricane Katrina hits, I believe, they are forced apart. Sawyer's family ends up moving and they don't ever find out what happened to each other. And so they kind of just live their lives like thinking about this childhood and this old friendship, but not knowing what happened to the other person. Years after that hurricane happened and Sawyer's family moved, she is diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she is in the hospital for years doing rounds of chemo and various treatment to cure that cancer. And finally, Sawyer is headed off to college. She wants to go back to Louisiana, which is where her family is originally from, which is where she met Banks and would spend her days on the bridge with him. And she ends up at LSU and wants to kind of live this normal life that she hasn't had before. She ends up meeting her neighbor who goes by Banks, whose first name is Paxton. They don't know who the other person is, and so they're forming this bond and this friendship, and both of them very much have skeletons in their current lives and in their past that they're not quite willing to open up about yet. But as they end up getting closer, memories of their childhood bring them back together even more, and they realize that they might have known each other since they were kids. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. This book is very hard. If you read her other release, Underneath the Sycamore Tree, this very much gives the same vibes as that. It is a very heartbreaking but also heartwarming read, but I do think you have to be in a certain mindset to be prepared to battle with the content of this book, because it's definitely a very sad book to get through. I gave this book 4 stars, which I think is the same rating that I gave to her other contemporary fiction, Underneath the Sycamore Tree back when I read it several years ago. I actually think I might have liked this one just a touch more than Underneath the Sycamore Tree, but the tropes of these two books are very different. So if you are looking for like an emotional read but don't want to read the same thing as Underneath the Sycamore Tree, this one does not read like that at all. It has very similar content in it in terms of terminal illness and grappling with that reality while still finding yourself falling in love with somebody, but the tropes are all different. This book is childhood best friends, second chance, next door neighbors, a little bit of miscommunication, skeletons in the closet, slow burn, and that other book by her with similar vibes has different tropes. So it is definitely a different read from Underneath the Sycamore Tree. But I did give this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it and did end up crying like I figured I would, just knowing what was gonna happen when I jumped into this one. I try my best not to give spoilers in these reviews, so if something does come up that I might be spoiling, I'll put a warning on the screen somewhere and so you can skip ahead, but there should not be any spoilers in this video. So diving into the plot a little bit, we start in their childhood for one chapter, and then the rest of the book is in present time. I do feel like I would have loved to see more childhood stuff between them, but both of them kind of have memories about each other that we see filtered throughout the book, which I think kind of helps stem the importance of the other person in their lives and what their bond meant even as a child growing into adulthood, and how there was something really vibrant and important between the two of them that connected them all these years later. There were times in this book when you could kind of tell that they were getting close to realizing who the other person was from their childhood, but they never quite got there until like the very end, even though on the back of the book like it says that they rekindled their friendship from childhood. And I had to try not to grow frustrated with that too much, but at the same time I did like that their relationship was being formed from present experiences that they were living together versus just basing your experience off knowing each other from the past. I feel like that shows that there's still a connection between them, there's still chemistry, and that there is a bond that's developed because of their friendship in the present versus just basing your entire relationship off when you were a child a decade before. So I did like that element of the plot and how we did mostly keep things focused in the present as they built their relationship once again in the present without knowing that they knew each other when they were kids in Louisiana. This book, this plot, has obviously the overarching theme and idea of terminal illness, and because of that there are a lot of hard conversations that happen. There are a lot of emotions that come with that, but in the midst of those conversations and those themes, you also have a very busy plot. I do feel like the story moved along at a very quick pace. Every chapter made me want to keep on reading. I wanted to see what happened between Sawyer and Banks. We do get to see both of their chapters, both of their POVs, which I always really appreciate, especially in romance. I like reading the perspectives of both main characters and how they view the person that they are falling for. So I did like that element. This is a very fast-paced romance, I would say. I read this book in just a couple of days. It was a very quick read to get through and kept me very interested in what was going on. You do kind of get to experience that New Orleans, Louisiana life, especially because Mardi Gras is a part of the book at one point, and going to parades and getting to view all the art of the city and the culture and things like that. So I did have a good time following just along the plot and kind of reliving college a touch with some of the scenes, because I've been out of college for several years now, which is totally fine, but it was kind of fun to relive that, if not a ton, at least just a little bit, to get a glimpse of that college living that Sawyer really wants to experience and that Banks is also experiencing at the same time, as they're both students there. This book also has a very slow burn plot, which I think at this point in my life I've come to appreciate a little bit more than I used to. So I didn't hate it. I think this book is more about their friendship versus their romance, although they very much have a romantic chemistry. I think both of them are just trying to escape things in their life and rely on somebody else for that, to grow and heal through that. And so it is very slow burn. It takes a long time to get to that romance, but I do love romance being built off friendship first. Finally, in regard to the plot, I'm not going to spoil the ending. The ending is very unexpected to me, and I'm still trying to figure out if I liked it or not. And that's why I gave it a 4-star versus a 5-star, because the ending was bizarre, but not in a bad way necessarily, just in a very unexpected way. And I keep that very vague to, 1, not give spoilers, and 2, if you've read this book and want to let me know your thoughts on the ending, please do, because I would not have expected that, but also it kind of feels right. So I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to keep it very vague. Moving on to the character side of this review. Again, we get to follow both Sawyer and Banks' perspectives. I love following multiple POVs, especially in romance, between 2 characters and getting to see both sides of their story. And in this one, it's especially heartbreaking and powerful because you're getting to see Sawyer, who's dealing with growing up in hospitals and having this illness, and Banks, who has his own struggles in his family life, and how they're both grappling with their realities and how they view the other person without knowing what they're going through. And it's hard, but I really like seeing both of those perspectives. I think it adds a lot of depth to the story and to these characters, getting to view the world from both of their perspectives. Both of these characters are also very likable. I have been reading some romance over the past like 6 to 8 months where the main character, one or the other, is not very likable. So I was excited to read this book and to actually really like both of our main characters. They were 2 easy characters to fall in love with. I was rooting for them and I wanted the best outcome for them, and I don't know if we got that, but they were great together. They were beautiful and I love them both a lot. And then on top of loving our 2 main characters, I also did like our side characters a lot. We have Sawyer's little brother named Bentley, who is very fun. Her parents are great. Sawyer's best friend Dixie is also great. And so I think that the whole cast of characters who were meant to be good were really good characters, and the ones who were meant to not be good were not good characters. So I did like reading about a lot of the other characters in the story aside from just our 2 main people. The whole premise of this book is that we have 2 characters, Sawyer and Banks, who are dealing with these skeletons that they are not willing or wanting to share with those around them. And when their skeletons do finally come out of that closet and they start sharing their lives, like their deep personal lives with each other, they start to both heal together, but then that also leads to them falling apart some more in the end. And I think that's a really hard thing to navigate and very tricky to do in like a respectful but also like realistic way. And I have to appreciate that element of this book, because I don't know if I would have had the courage to write it something like this, but Celeste did, and I really liked how that was approached in this book. In terms of my overall thoughts on it, this is another book that has some very good one-liners. I feel like I've been reading a lot of books recently that have some really good like one-off quotes, and I really like those. I am going to share one with y'all. I have no idea where this quote is from in the book, but I'm gonna go ahead and just read it. I let myself relax into his hold, and for a moment I think this is it. Happiness. I remember what my mom told me once, that one day I'd find somebody who would make life worth living. I just hope that I don't hurt him pretending like that's possible. That's heartbreaking, and that just made me want to cry a little bit when I read it out loud just now again. But there's just comments like that throughout the entire book, and I really liked reading those one-liners. I always love to annotate romances, and I didn't obviously with this one because I read it on NetGalley before the book came out, but if I do go back and reread it, I will definitely be annotating this one, because romances like this and books like this have just such beautiful quotes. I want to remember them, and I want to underline them and highlight them and share them with everybody. So I did find that this book had a lot of really good quotes in it. Even though I am personally still a little bit unsure about this ending, I would recommend checking out Passive Broken Bridges by Celeste if you are interested in wanting an emotional read that could make you cry, because it did for me, and I still think about it occasionally, even though I read it about a month ago. So I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars, and I would recommend checking it out if you are interested in doing so. I will have an affiliate link to this book on Amazon. If you're interested in purchasing it, I will get an extra commission at no cost to you. Otherwise, you'll have to let me know if you've already read this one or if it is on your radar. If you made it to the end of this video and you want to comment a tree or something with nature, please feel free to do so. And also, if you love all things bookish, make sure you subscribe for more content in the near future. Thank you all so much for watching my book review on Past the Broken Bridges, and I will see you all in the next one.